Welcome, everyone, to our second show of The Transitioning. My name is Bob Wright, and I'm here with Julien Wells. Hello, Julien.
Hello, Bob. Hello, everybody listening.
Yes, and everyone in there in the chat room. I can't believe that a whole week has gone by. Like, it just seems like it was just a couple of days ago that we were...
or like yesterday.
Yeah, the whole time thing is just really...
It's kind of tripping me out lately.
Anything past 24 hours is just before. And welcome, everyone. Glad for everybody to tune in. Just by way of announcements, we want to make sure that everybody is checking out our new 5D Media Network, 5dmedianetwork.com. You can listen to all the archives of all of our shows, the Collective Imagination, the One People's Radio, Cool Coincidences, the Transitioning, and also the Remembering. So check that out. And if you're not able to listen in live today, you can get the archive also from today's show shortly after at 5dmedianetwork.com. I'm probably missing a whole bunch of other announcements that I'm supposed to make, Julien.
Well, can you list the phone number that people can call into?
Oh, yes.
For questions? We'll
definitely.
Probably be taking, I'm not going to say very likely. We're definitely going to take questions in the second half of the show.
Yes. So if you want to call in, it's 646-716-4598. And for those of you who are called in on the phone, if you do have a question, use your dial pad and press 1, and that will notify me in the studio that you've got a question. Otherwise, I'll just assume that you're there listening. And we do have one caller there waiting, but we'll get to the questions a little bit after. Some things we wanted to pick up from on last week. Julien, I believe you said that there were a couple questions that you wanted to field.
Specific to, I asked, what is the Skype room, the Cosmic Room, where I have some friends there where we discuss all sorts of things cosmic. I asked them to let me know if they had any questions that they really wanted me to answer, and I did want to try and get to them.
Or do you want to do that later when we're doing the calls?
We can do that probably first thing right after the first hour. How about that?
Yeah, that'll work. I was talking with my nieces and nephews the other day, and it's a subject that I really wanted to get into. We were talking about our relationship with our greater selves, with our environment, and how we're moving back to a more, what a lot of people would call primitive, but now that I understand, it's so weird. I look back at a lot of the things that you might have called primitive before, and now you see the reason behind it. That there's a relationship with everything. You have a relationship with everything around you. And we were commenting about like how if you have a house and somebody is living in that house, and taking care of it, and the house seems to feel that it has a purpose, it has a function, and it has a need. The
like
house
a belonging, yeah.
Yes, but as soon as the people leave, and the house is abandoned, in like about 6 months, the paint starts to chip. I mean, it literally, the house literally starts to fall apart.
Yeah. And
I've noticed that, and I'm like,
I think a lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah, I was sitting here and we're having this conversation, and I'm like, I have this really old oak coffee table, and it probably should have been chucked a long time ago. It has been knocked. A few drunk people have fallen on it. It's been, but I can tell it is trying to hold itself together, for me, because I really, really appreciate this table. It supports all the things, and the whole conversation started because my nephew was talking, about how he can't drink milk anymore, and Like, he's like,
And
I
what
can't have
happened
my
there?
favorite cereal because I get so sick every time I drink milk anymore. Any dairy products, he gets right to the bathroom.
Mhm.
And I was telling him that I used to have that problem, and I started to realize it wasn't the milk that was the problem, it was the energy from the cow. That
There's
the
a
milk,
lot that you begin to absorb, and your body
right.
just not agree with it.
And so, like, and it starts, with just that awareness, I started to release the trauma. I would thank the spirit of the cow that offered its life, regardless of what suffering it went through, that it could help me in this moment of now to support my being.
Mhm.
And by doing that, before I drink the milk, and you could literally feel, I mean, if you're attuned to energy, you could feel the change or the release of that energy when you do that. And when you drink the milk, I don't have a problem. But you do that with everything around you, like all your house, your car. People can relate. They have a relationship with their cars, and when you
Especially
have,
with their cars, yeah.
especially with their cars, they name them and they pet them, and oh yes, you can do this time, baby. But the indigenous people of native times, they used to sing to the spirit of the earth, to the spirit of the mountain, the forest. They had a communion with their environment. They had a respect and a cooperation, and they understood their connection to everything, And I hear of stories in ancient times when humans were before they took their quote unquote fall, but that stories of indigenous that they would walk to the edge of the forest and request of the forest, we need meat for our tribe, and the animals would decide which one was worthy enough and would come and literally offer its life and drop dead in front of their feet. And then they would sing to the animal, sing, praises for the animal spirit that offered itself for the benefit of the tribe. Now, in reciprocal, when there were sick animals or animals that were in danger or need, they knew that they could come to the medicine woman or the shaman and get help. And they helped and protected, and they only took what they needed from each other. And they did so with respect. And I see myself acting very indigenous lately.
Well, it's actually just more natural.
Yes.
Like true natural nature that's within ourselves to develop empathy and respect for what's around us. I think there's been a lot of factors that have reduced I don't want to say our ability to empathize, but has further strengthened our separateness.
Yeah, it's well.
So that's sort of like this divide and conquer sort of element. So if people want to control you, the best way they can do you is separate you from what you're empowered with and those that empower your co-creation. So when it comes to nature itself, I mean, how many people take a walk through nature every day? I think that's more of a rare circumstance for the average person to just find a reason to literally just go walk in nature or to touch nature with their hands or with their feet. And
I've seen some reality shows and people, their idea of getting back to nature is basically to go to some pavilion or park, which you can commune with nature, but like the idea of getting barefoot and walking through the forest is just, you could get germs and.
I don't mean to laugh at people like that. I know I'm giggling, but
you have to laugh sometimes.
Yeah, but there's a certain sad truth to it that makes me giggle, unfortunately.
But it does. You can't deny that connection, and I feel it like with everything and everyone around me. it's such an amazing thing when you start to really open up and you realize, wait, I can talk to animals. I mean, you can't really have like a conversation I would have with you.
Right. Theoretical math or things like that.
No. Well, some animals you can.
Okay.
Some animals you can. You could probably do that with a whale.
Okay.
But you can communicate with them. When you start to realize how much alike they are to us. My friend was over here and he's got a little a beagle, named Cruiser.
Okay.
And this dog, whenever DJ comes over, me and DJ are pretty close. Whenever DJ comes over and I give DJ a hug, this dog gets jealous.
Oh gosh.
And he doesn't get angry, He'll go and he'll sit in a corner and put his head down and just like, I guess I'm worthless,
Oh.
because nobody's showing him any attention. And I got this emotion, like this really strong emotion from the dog, and I felt, oh my goodness, and I went over to the dog. I was like, oh, please don't feel that way. But when you understand the depth of their feeling, that they do have emotional intelligence, and a lot of animals have enough intelligence to communicate
in ways that we would understand the patterns.
Yes. Yes, very, very similar to humans.
So I think the idea of domesticating animals actually fits in more than one way, I think. We actually domesticate the energy around us and within our lives. This energy, like our dogs and our pets, depend on us actually for sustenance and for meaning. So when we manipulate the land to make houses out of wood and stone, and we create computers from various elements in the earth as well, and we get out our chemistry sets and we take it even to the next level. This energy is actually dependent on our choices to exist. So fundamentally, everything in our surroundings within your average household or locale that is domesticated, like a city or a town, actually depends on our choices and is there to serve us. I don't want to say we're masters of this energy, but we've gone through a process step by step of inviting it to participate with us and to find its place and belonging, much like our animals, tend to suffer when we don't give them the attention that we've invited them with the co-creation that we share with them.
There was a movie with John Travolta called Phenomenon, and I'm not sure if you've ever seen it.
Yeah, I've seen it. I recall.
Well, there's one scene where he was displaying all the books that he read, and he was having like this big, huge book signing, and people were coming to his house, and he had a set of sunglasses on the table, and he was moving it around telekinetically. And he explained, he's like, they said, how do you do that? And he says, it's kind of like a cooperation. I don't command it, it's like a dance. I cooperate. I invite it. And now understanding energy and how it works, I really get what he was saying.
Oh yeah, that was totally real. That was not something that was meant to be just a joke or a trick or something that should be perceived by the average person as magic. That's actually a real thing, especially since reviewing and viewing miracles like that, very similar to that in Michael Monk's course. This is like, no, this is actual. This is not just a potential. This is a very serious truth about our interaction with energy that is manifest into physicality. He also does that with the pencil on the table too. He has it
right.
He doesn't move.
And moving it back and forth, and I think it's really, I've been playing with telekinesis for some time, and I've had a lot of success, and it does work. Mm-hmm. And people need to test your limits, test your boundaries, because there really aren't there. If you have a limit, something that you can't do, it's something that can be overcome. Absolutely, because really you don't have any, except for the ones that you impose on yourself. And this is, I'm looking at, I watched a video today of this 7-year-old boy, and if anyone can remember, because I can't keep track of all the information that comes through Facebook and Skype and all that, but there was a video with a 7-year-old boy, and he arranged this crystal pattern, and he explained how the energy of each crystal works and how it creates a vortex and how far up it goes, and it creates a bubble and it shoots up higher than the Empire State Building, and how he made it so that it would heal the city. Anybody who's got broken arms, and the mother asked, how did you know to do this? And he said, well, I was talking to a rock, and the rock told me. Mm-hmm. Now, for a lot of people, 10 years ago, they would be taking this child and getting him help, quote unquote, help.
Yeah.
Right? And, putting him on whatever kind of psychoactive drugs that they can think of, but the brilliance of this child and the relationship that he had with his environment, this is our new reality. This kid, and there's no doubt, and I looked at the pattern, and if anybody can remember that video, and I've lost it, I'm sorry, otherwise I'd post it in the chat if anybody else had seen it. But when you look at the configuration of the crystals, this kid,
the next brilliant kid. Yeah.
This was no random. This wasn't just this. He goes, no, this is it represents the human, and it's the squared circle. I'm like, now I know about the squared circle. And I'm like, how does this 7-year-old kid know about the squared circle? Yeah. But I'm so excited to see this is where our children are going. Don't medicate them. There's nothing wrong with them. They don't need help. If you don't understand it, maybe we can get some help for you.
See, it's as if they are our medication. Right? It's kind of like we need them because what we've had in the past in terms of medication is not what we need anymore. I mean, for sure, there was a place and time to implement challenges and duality, but where we're headed, it's not necessary anymore. It's more a selective reality that we can play with. If you want to select duality, it'll be there for you to choose if you wish it.
Oh, and it still functions.
Oh yeah, it still clicks like time work for sure. I wanted to share upon a little bit about the telekinesis and a little bit about working with energy. Energy basically retains patterns, and energy that is not yet manifest yet is more like energy with potential patterns that it can adopt. So it hasn't determined its holding pattern yet, or its physical pattern that we would recognize. And so when it comes to manifesting and doing miraculous things like telekinesis and whatnot, Michael has shared probably one of the biggest things that really made it click for me how this happens is that you actually develop an empathy for what you're wishing to do. So if you're developing something you want to move via telekinesis, you're actually developing an empathy with the object and with the space surrounding the object and with its relationship to you via your intent. So it's almost like having a conversation with a friend of yours and asking him to please change seats. Can you get him to do that simply by asking? Well, maybe he's your worst enemy, and getting him to move might be a little bit of a challenge. You need to, work with that relationship. But when you empathize with this person and you discover why it is he's sitting there, why you feel he wouldn't move there, well, then you can resolve the issues in a psychological manner. But when it comes to like a pencil, say, it's not that complex. It's simply, no one's ever asked me to move before. This is a new thing for me to move without this idea that I need to be manipulated via fingers. So there's simple things like this where when you develop an empathy with something, you actually are entering into that energy signature and creating a portal where you are imbibing that energy within yourself. So you become a match to that pencil or whatever it is. You actually feel the pencil. You actually be the pencil. I know it sounds really cheesy, be the thing that you wish to move. Well, actually, no. There's a point at which you are clearly empathizing with what you wish to move or what you wish to affect. And that, when that comes in, when you get to a certain point there, you basically can have more or less empathy. You can always have more empathy, and you can actually, transform into a pencil if you go too far. But that degree will determine how much empathy it will take for that pencil to move or to get your friend to change chairs. Doesn't mean you need to start a sermon to get your friend to change chairs. You go to the point that will get the job done. But that empathy, it comes in this form of actually being in love with the object. If you're trying to move something that you absolutely hate and find absolutely stubborn and terrible and just, imperfect and in your way, that's a sure sign you're never going to move that object, or you're never going to have an opportunity to manipulate it. It's only when you are in incredible love, empathy with it. And so that's a feeling, and that takes, your own self-awareness to discover what it is to have empathy with something. But we have empathy for others, typically, is how we use the word empathy. We have empathy with other people.
Well, you know what I think a lot of times happens? People are so mentally oriented, because their mind takes precedence over everything. They try to think everything, into action. And when you're doing that, you're going to get a headache. And I'm not saying that you can't get it to work. I've seen people, but when you engage your heart, and it's a different connection. It's an emotional connection. And I it's just this feeling of gratitude, graciousness, and love. They're forms of love, and using that as your guide, as your motivating, your modus operandi is a different action, and it's a lot easier. It's a lot softer. It's I go back to John Travolta. It's a cooperate. It's more like a dance.
It's a co-creation of energy.
Right.
Right. But we assume through what we've understood of co-creation, we assume it's with other people, right? Because they have perhaps intellects that contrast our own, and we need to reconcile our differences before we co-create. Well, actual physical objects like pencils and nature and whatnot, they don't have a lot of personality conflicts. It's not too hard to find out where they come from, or literally how they exist and how they reflect upon their own existence. All energy is conscious. It wouldn't have a degree of physicality if it wasn't conscious. because the consciousness is also a space where it makes choices. You can invite physicality to manifest in front of your eyes if you create enough of a wonderful space for it to feel invited into that existence, if you're welcoming enough. And you can welcome experiences as well. So,
well, I think people need to manifestation, and I heard it described, and I forget by whom. So, if I'm misquoting, I'm quoting somebody. But manifestation is nothing more than complex thought, and people associate thought with your brain and your mind. But when you understand that you think from every cell in your body, you think from every cell in your body. Thought arises, when you stub your toe, right, or you burn yourself, your finger, your toe is going to communicate, through to your body and to your consciousness. Ouch, this hurts. I have a problem down here. Pay attention. Your finger is being crushed or burned or whatever.
Yeah.
Every cell in your body has the ability to think. So you can think from your heart, you can think from your mind, you can think from your greater essence, from your consciousness. But it's not located in your brain.
No, it's a co-creation of every cell and every molecule that you have within you.
Right.
And I just want to share another experience I had with Michael Monk's lessons, was that he explains processes for practicing of expanding beyond your body. Now, this is not an out-of-body experience, but he has you feeling beyond your hands. Like, he starts with your hands in a lot of cases, and you'll be able to feel things a couple inches away from your hands. And you develop this sensitivity. And what you find is that you're just reminding yourself of your connection with the space that's 2 inches away from your hands. And then you start getting into like a couple feet away from you, until you're like spreading out and realizing your actual immediate attention to all your surroundings. And the data will come through what seems to be, like neurons that must be in the air. It's really quite unbelievable how the information actually gets translated to your brain. Brain awareness.
When you do that, you're literally, and this is another thing, and people get offended because everybody, if you listen to the Bridge Group, Bob always relates everything to sex, and I do.
Okay, I don't mind.
I relate everything to sex because to me, everything is sex. I understand sex as an exchange of energy, an exchange of living energy, and you're having sex with everything, and the way that you exchange that energy is the contracts that we make, the agreements that we make with each other. I'm going to exchange the energy in this form, whether it be a handshake or kind words or service, whatever. It's an exchange of energy, and we're constantly exchanging energy. And when you do that, when you exchange energy, I expanded my energy, to encompass more than just the earth. I expand it out into the universe when I want to understand what's going on in the greater scheme of things. But understand, when you do that, or even if you do it with another person, you are forever changed, and that other person is forever changed. Notice when two people get together and they start spending time together, they start sounding like each other. Some of the expressions that the other person uses suddenly starts to enter into your vocabulary, and you don't even recognize it. I mean, I'm still saying dude from the short period of time that I lived with my friends in Southern California, and it's a part of me now. This is because we have exchanged energy. Part of their energy is now physically become part of me. We have become part of each other. We're exchanging, life essence energy. We're exchanging information, and that information is forever carried in you. As long as you can remember that person and call them up, people, even if they're separated by death 15 years ago, they go to visit the Grand Canyon, they could say, oh, God, Mom would have loved this. How do they know? Mom's not there to see it, but they know because that person's part of them, and they understand. You have access to a greater portion of them because you've exchanged that energy. So I'm careful about who I exchange energy with, and what parts I want to have attached, and what parts I don't want to have attached into my beingness, and it makes you very more aware of what's happening to you energetically, and it's a completely different way of being. And people are gonna look at you like you're weird. Like, people look at me and I'm sitting there and I'm holding my hands over my plate of food and like, what are you doing? Is this a religious thing? No, it's not a religious thing. This is a practical thing. I don't know where this food came from.
I don't know. I was noticing we have a lot of traditional interactions like handshakes and giving hugs and kisses. These are all actual different levels of integrating someone else at a cellular level. And so we have access to these. I've been learning this through the practicing of telepathy, that you actually have got the person's phone number once you've given them a handshake, or even if they've seen your face. That's another way. So when you lock eyes, that's it. You have access to that person's signature much more easily than if you had never been aware of them.
Yeah.
Like we all have, and these, they're all very particular. Like your handshake is not exactly like mine. When I look into your eyes, it's different than when I look into someone else's eyes. When I, see you smile, it's slightly different in these very subtle ways that the body's able to recognize, maybe not the brain at a conscious level. But even, hugs have their own signature, and it's not even the way that you do it. You actually enter into the field of that person, especially hugs and kisses, because you're in extreme proximity to energy. You're just naturally tainted by their color. I don't want to say tainted. I want to be like adding food coloring to like a glass of water. That color will mix in there and dissolve into it.
Well, for me, hugs do have color. Everybody has different, and there's and you could feel the exchange of energy. Like, this is why, and a lot of people who are very, very male dominant are going to, balk at the idea that they have sexual relations with their co-mates, but they do. That's why you shake hands. That's why you hug. That's why we connect in that form. Because there is an exchange of energy that is.
Well, it's an integration of the other person that develops a greater bond and empathy, really.
Right.
So you have a greater empathy with someone you've shook hands with. You're less likely to shoot them in the face.
Right.
To some degree, which is the opposite of the empathy, right?
Exactly. And this is. I'm so glad that we can have this conversation.
I know.
I think stuff is stuff that really, really needs to be talked about. And, when people start to understand, you naturally become a more loving person. I can't, it's not, you're not motivated because some book said some law that says I have to show respect to you. You don't need a scripture to tell you right behavior or ethical behavior. You just naturally do it. It just becomes part of your nature. It's so natural. And I'm a very, very huggy affectionate type of person. I hug my friends.
I can definitely tell.
And people like, oh God, I don't like to be. It's like, but it feels so good. Why? Why? It feels so good. I just, maybe
I think at some subtle level, some men realize that it's just a hop skip away from getting kissed, and which is a hop skip away from having sex, and they have this, homophobia element in there. I think that could be a part of it. So
well, it's
if
funny.
you want to prove you're not a homophobe, go ahead and hug guys more often, people.
It's such a conditioned thing, because I'll tell you what, when I went to, and I am a homosexual, so I can speak to this. When I went to Egypt, my first, I lived in Egypt for about almost a year, but one of the first things I noticed, it was culture shock, because there in Egypt, you will see men walking hand in hand, holding hands, the same way that you'll see women do today, in more Western civilizations. In Western society, women can get away with holding hands and kissing and walking arm in arm, and no one really ever thinks anything twice of it. In Egypt, the men are just like that. They'll walk arm in arm, they'll kiss, they'll hold hands. And I'm at the mall, in Heliopolis, with my friend Hassam, and he reaches to grab my hand, to hold my hand. It made me uncomfortable, because it was just not something I was used to, and I'm gay. I had no problem with holding his hand, but it's such a there, because when I got off the plane and I saw that, and I asked my friends, I said, I thought homosexuality was haram here. It was illegal officially, and they says, yeah. I said, well, what's all this going on? He goes, oh, they're not gay. They're just friends. And I was like, wow, that's just like it's crazy,
Well, it's not totally unseemingly. I mean, when you grow up and you have brothers or sisters and you hold hands, what's the difference? It's someone you care for.
Right.
And you're sharing the space by holding hands. You're sharing the experience. You're developing a bond of empathy that is an in-the-moment experience. So you are more in alignment in that space and time. I mean, why not?
Well, I'll tell you what. When there becomes extreme emotional trauma, if there's a death or a major scare or some sort of drama in your life, people reach out. They want to connect. They need a hug.
You
sometimes
hold somebody when they're on their bed in pain,
and they're in pain, and like when you're really on the edge and somebody reaches out and just gives you a hug, you'll find it's very hard to hold back tears. Everything just spills out, and for that reason, a lot of people will refrain from making that connection because of the draw of all this emotion that will come out. But it's so important because energy, like water, or like it needs to flow. When you start bottling it up and you start blocking it, you get problems. It needs to flow, and people start to realize that all of the energy and any emotion you have, any feeling or emotion that you have, like if you love someone so dearly and you watch this person sleep, if anybody's ever been in love and you watch your loved one sleep and you feel this overwhelming, this overflowing love pour out of you, and it could be son, daughter, partner, it doesn't matter, but this overwhelming love flows out of you. You can feel it. It fills you up and it pours out. So you understand where the source of all this energy is coming from. You never feel it rushing. Well, yes, you can feel it rushing in from other people, but usually when you're experiencing an emotion, you feel it pouring out of you. So that love, the happiness, the joy, anger, any of that, it's Where's the source of it? It's coming from inside, and it's flowing out.
And there's actually no limit. Some people think, oh, I'm all, if I give my love away, it's gone. It's something, that needs to be handed back for me to think that I, can trust someone. But in fact, there's no limit to this funnel. It's actually, all energy is drawn from, a space that might be perceived as non-physical, but there's no limit to the energy that exists all around you. So you can love, you can hug, you can kiss, whatever, virtually forever. And, some people actually do that. You speak to Mother Teresa especially. She'll explain it in those terms as well. There's no limit to offering love.
Well, it's an illusion that people have. They treat love like money, that it's in limited supply.
True. It's a transaction or something.
Right, and we're going to make a contract for this love, and there's going to be specific terms. Now, you have to promise to love me and only me, right? Whether it's good for you or bad for you, whether it makes you sick or whether it makes you healthy, you've got to promise to not love anyone else ever until you die. I'm sorry, I'm running. I'm running the other way. I just, and I have nothing against quote unquote being monogamous in a monogamous relationship or having a partner, but this whole idea of contractual marriage and the way that love is treated like it's a scarcity. All right, I have a little bit, it's mine, and no one else can have it. I just like, ooh.
Well, it makes me kind of sad, but there's lots of discussions we can have on the Institute of Marriage, and just the different reasons why it has come and it exists, and why people have challenges with it, because it is a basis that stands for a lot of the troubles that people have in their life. Most of them are with their partners, right? Because there's lots of things that don't seem to fit, and yet they understand them as the way society wishes to persist and move forward with, in terms of rules and mores and whatnot. But I'm not saying marriage isn't good at all. I'm saying it has lots of inherent value in the transactions that you develop between individuals. This
raises a point, and I'm sure everybody knows a couple and they can relate to this. There'll be a couple that will live together happily, coexist together for years, right? They decide to get quote unquote officially married, and in 6 months they're broken up.
Yeah, you're like, hey, how did that happen?
What was it that changed? And when you sign a contract like that, it does have an energetic effect on you. People in the OPPT, when they were signing these documents, they were able to literally, measure it with their magnetometers on their phones. The energy after signing a document that the document takes on. You're binding yourself. You're binding, into a contract, where you're committing yourself to a particular verbiage on the page, and by doing that, it changes the energy. It changes your energy.
It very much does. There's an inherent nature that we offer to the reality of adding a signature to something. I actually was going to share a part of my dream at some point. I figured now is probably good enough. I had a dream before I woke up this morning, so I had some memory of it, where I was in a position where some important cabal member, banker or something like that, I basically called him out on the way things were and how, things sucked, the way that they had things running. And I was telling him, that's it. I'm drawing the line. I'm not participating in what you've provided for me and for my family. And they said, well, too bad. You're not leaving this room until you've signed here saying you're not going to tell anybody else about this. And I said, there's no way you can get me to sign this. I was like, well, I need you to sign it. I'm like, I'm not signing it. Well, I need you to sign it. I was like, well, I'm not signing it. And they were just basically assuming that if they could repeat it, they could pound it into my head that I would get it. You know? And
maybe if they say it louder.
Yeah. So I said, look, you know, I'm not saying that you don't deserve your opportunity to have this, you know, opportunity to, you know, get people to sign stuff for you. Sure. People want to sign stuff and give their energy away and their, you know, their sovereignty away to you. Fine. But I'm not one of those. So he said, so what are you going to do? You're going to leave? I said, I will leave. If it comes down to me leaving, I will leave. Basically acknowledging within myself that would mean something like suicide, right? And he said, well, I don't want you to do that. I don't want you to do that. And so for the first time I said, wow, that's a first. It's like you actually are not interested in me just leaving altogether. So we do have something in common here. You do want me to stay for some reason, even if I can't sign this contract with you. He says, well, what would you be willing to sign? And I thought about it, and I came up, I'm not willing to sign anything that you put in front of me. I'm not, you know, I said, well, would you be willing to write something of your own? You know, maybe give me a counter offer. You know, give me something to sign, and maybe we can find a middle ground. And I said, well, I don't know how much of a middle ground we have, but I think signing right now is just not the thing for me. And I didn't leave the dream with an actual resolution, but I knew that from now on, I'm like, I am not signing anything, because that, you know, anything that's been written up and it wasn't done with my words is not my property in energy until I adopt it through the signature. It's basically an agreement to someone else's reality or intentions. And if I haven't written it, then I'm not going to have it. And these courtesy notices, I know they're fantastic, but I'm getting people asking me questions about them. What should I do about this and that? You know, what should I include? What can I, you know, do to spiffy it up? I say, well, look, you're going to get exactly what that courtesy notice is providing you. And if you're not ready for someone to come to you and ask you questions on this because you're not totally familiar with what it's actually saying, well, then you're just giving yourself more trouble. You're signing your experience away to just something else, you know. So if it were anything, you know, read the courtesy notice, and if you don't think you can say it better from your point of awareness, well, then use it. But don't use them verbatim simply because, you know, anyone has told you that it's the best way to say something. If you don't understand it, then it's not going to help you stand behind that energy.
Right. You know, it's so important. It's so important to actually do the work. You know, there's no shortcuts to enlightenment. I mean, there may be shorter ways of doing things and easier ways to go about doing it, but you've got to do the work. I mean, you've got to understand for yourself, for your own, you know, edification, for your own, because when it comes to manifesting things, if you can't believe it, if it's not real to you, it's not going to happen. You know, and how do you make something real for you? You know, like I used to have this argument with my parents all the time, you know, because they're very, very much into quoting the Bible, and you know, I can quote the Bible, you know, and it's fine. You know, I'm not, you know, bashing the Bible, but with any book, you know, if I read Oliver Twist, just because I read the story does not mean that I understand what it means to be an orphan.
Right.
You know? And because you read the Bible does not mean that you understand what God is, unless you've experienced it yourself. Unless you've experienced it yourself, you can't really know. You know, you can't really know. So, like, when you start experiencing, you know, the paranormal or the things that, you know, people say are impossible, once you've experienced it, there's no one that's going to be able to convince you that you didn't experience it.
Well, they can put a lot of drugs into you and try to
they can
change.
try.
Yeah.
Yes, but inherently, it's something that you've experienced, you've gone through, and that's something that's going to be very, very hard for someone else to overturn, regardless of how many books they quote or how many empirical laws they say that you've broken in your experience.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so when somebody else has an experience, okay, it's not your experience. You may wish to have a similar experience, and you can invite that into your space, right? But until you actually go through it, you know, enlightenment's not something that can be taught. It can only be experienced. I can teach you mechanics. I can teach you, you know, and I can relate stories about what works for me, you know, and how I've gotten past certain limitations and how I'm getting past certain limitations. But until you start to actually walk the path, you know, test the waters, and actually start doing, you know, from your being and experiencing in that doing, you'll never master anything.
Well, we're really talking about mastering ourselves, right?
Yes, very much so.
And I think there's been, if you look at, say, all these technologies or actions that the quote-unquote cabal have taken, you know, what do they all lead to? They lead you to you looking outside yourself. They all deliver experiences that are not based on alignment with being within. And they establish separation at every turn and corner as possible. And they don't do it to the point where we're killing each other in each other's homes outright. They need a certain amount, they need it at a certain degree of being unified and a certain degree of being separate. They have this nice little milieu where they can run things the most smoothly. But, you know, it's up to you if that's, you know, something that you actually admire and respect and want to move forward with in terms of paradigms. I'm not saying, like, in my dream, it wasn't that I had the issue of me wanting to take down the cabal system. I'm not out there to do that. I know there's lots of people who find a lot of value in bringing a sense of that reality to others who are a little bit in the dark about what's going on. But I actually stopped putting my focus on it. And I got to a point where it was as if, you know, I'm just not offering energy to it. I can speak to it, but I'm not going to advocate or advocate against it. It's someone's choice to maintain that reality. It's the choice of the controllers if they want to continue doing that. But I also learned that through my will and intent, I can have my own world even within their world. I don't have to have their world eliminated for me to experience my world in the way I wish it to be. That was a foundational transformation that I went through in myself. I don't have to eliminate the old to bring in the new. And to some degree, elimination of the old is, results in radical change and dramatic change around me. And I'm just not prepared to do that. I'm just prepared to offer the wonderful alternative to people and let people pick and choose that as they will and as they wish and find themselves there with me. That's about all I really have a strong intention to do with regards to the cabal at this point. I'm not going to sign their stuff anymore, but I will offer contracts for anyone that wants to share in the reality that I wish to share in. If I'm not actually doing this, by the way, people. I'm just saying, if you want to hang out with me, you gotta be willing to accept me hugging you. Stuff like that. So.
Oh, that's funny.
Anyways, should we head to a small break before we do the second half of the show?
Yeah, let's do that. Let me see what... I was just looking to see... And, yeah, also, during the break, for any of you who have questions, we're going to be, on the second part of our show, we're going to be taking some questions and from callers. So, calling number is 646-716-4598. Welcome back to the show, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the break. It's a pretty cool jazzy song.
Do you know who the author of that is, or who the singer was?
Stigmato Incorporated.
Cool.
Stigmato. At least that's what it says in the studio box. Whoever typed that in.
Okay. I had a couple of questions that were texted to me. I'm not going to answer all of them, but a couple of them I think I can answer relatively quickly. And I think they would lead up to other discussions if we wanted to have them. So I'll just quickly read them off. Julien, will the release of Project 13 and the IUV exchange be recognized by our governments right away? From where I stand, the answer is no. I don't want to disappoint you there, but it's going to be a developing process that's similar to something like Bitcoin. It'll just be understood and recognized very quickly as a wonderful direction for people to adopt if they want to just walk away from the old governmental way of doing things and be more empowered in their day-to-day activities with those around them. When do you feel 3D replicators and free energy units will be demonstrated to the public? I don't have an answer for that, but if I were to offer any of my opinion, it would be within this year. I don't think we can go past a certain point this fall without it really being a major factor in where we head forward and everything that I'm sort of perceiving. But, can I promise that for you? Probably not. But, if you are ready to begin observing these things in action, put the intention out there and say, I'm ready to see this. You probably already are, but put it into a frame where you can expect that others will also be observing it who have no idea that this stuff existed. Let's see. Julien, since we are light beings, can the cosmic cousins see us from up in the sky where they are in ships as individual sources of light? And can they identify each one of us? Do they know us by name? So energy has its own luminescence, and humans have a particularly profound brightness to their identity, energy, accessible value. So in a certain way, it's kind of like we're light bulbs walking around. So this is why this person is probably asking this question. And can ETs witness our auric energy? They can, and like many of us here that have that capability already, we don't always have to be aware of it. So it's sort of like a pay attention to it, and you'll notice it. Now, since we're really quite small, like little ants, when you look at us from up above, you can understand how we might be seen as, little ants of light. A lot like when you look at the cities on the dark side of the planet during, from the space station or something like that. But they don't necessarily give us names until they get to a point of empathy where they want to re-identify with you in the future. It's kind of like you can meet someone and shake their hand and have a nice day with them, but you don't need their name because you're not under any way assuming that you need to reacquaint yourself with them in the future or need to know how to find them via their name or something. So, do they know our names? Only if they're extremely inquisitive, and they don't really use names as much as sort of incorporate your energies into a pattern that they recognize, sort of like, recognizing someone's face. Well, when you get into a greater awareness of energy, you don't need the person's face to feel who you're speaking with. Even if someone were to call you up and not say a word over the phone, you can tell who it is. So it's that sort of thing. They don't need to give a name to that. Let's see. Julien, hello. Question for you. Are there off-world beings who are affecting the sun's activity as it faces the Earth? Actually, this is one I definitely wanted to answer because of the latest activity going on with the sun that people are noticing. The sun has been wanting to get its hands a little dirty in I don't want to say dirty, but wants to be more involved in what's going on around here. And there's been actually a suppression of the sun, not suppression, but a sort of guiding element with regards to the ET groups wanting to, hold it a little bit like a leash and not let it explode a little bit too much, because it can cause immediate challenges for us here on the planet. But what has occurred lately is that it's been sort of unleashed. There's more hands off now. They're doing less protecting us from the sun's influence. It's been a little bit shackled, but the general consensus has been that we're going to let the sun do what it's going to do. And the sun, being an actual personality, has been really excited for this space to actually start playing a greater role in what we're experiencing. Certain ET groups thought that they had a responsibility for shackling the intentions of the sun by not understanding it, and it's been made abundantly clear to them that they got to get out of the way. So that can be an explanation. That has started, I want to say, really only about a week or 2 weeks ago, that they've been taking their hands off, letting the dog off the chain sort of feeling. I think I'll cut it there. But do we have questions on the line, or?
Yes, we do. We have area code 561.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Louie.
Who are we speaking with?
This is Cherry.
Hi.
Hello. I'm calling from upstate New York. I'm sitting out on beloved Gaia on the lovely skin of her grass. I love sitting out here. I've got a bit of breeze blowing, so I hope that you can still hear me.
Oh, I can hear you fine. Is that Sherry, you said?
Jerry as in Geraldine.
Jerry. Ah,
yes.
Okay. I thought it was Sherry, like the drink.
I like drinking sherry, I have to say. I'm calling. I have a question, but I wanted to share a couple of things with you first. Last week when you were talking, there was somebody asking about, how you connect with our sisters and brothers and the ships and all of that up there. And the next evening I went out. I go out every night to go and feed my horses. And I stop and admire the sky and everything. And I had a little thought and thought, I wonder if there's any of them out there. And no sooner had I thought that there was this light in the sky, which I thought was a star. And the next thing, it was darting around in all directions. And one moment, the light, and then the next thing, it was kind of tingy red. And it was darting and darting and darting. It was, fascinating. And it had to have been. It couldn't have been anything else.
Wonderful.
So
that
was
wonderful.
And the other thing I wanted to share is because, Julien, obviously you've kind of come across some abilities to kind of connect in different directions than you ever were able to. And, I started my awakening about 9 years ago when I visited with a shaman healer, and that's another very long story. But over the last few years, I started by writing poems just for people's birthdays and weddings and this and that, and I'm really good at writing rhyming poetry. But suddenly I started to try and write, I just decided I'd write something about the things I was learning about, like faith and love and focus and various things, and I wrote all of those. And then I would put out an intent to write something. And just one example I want to give you, and I feel this one, it was a message for me, but now it's a message for everybody that's on the cusp of waking up. Somebody suggested that I write a poem. Somebody posted a picture on Facebook of some little footprints walking down into a lake. And another one person said, "Oh, Jerry, there's a poem for you. I see a poem coming out of this." So I just wrote the title, Footprints. And I swear I have no knowledge of where this came from. But listen to this. It's really, really mind-opening. See the light that guides your star. Let it show you who you are. See the light that shines so bright. This light shines daily and at night. Ask your guides what you can do to help humanity start anew. Look for footprints to guide you there. If it feels risky, do you dare? Now starts a new age. It's time for change. It might seem scary and somewhat strange. Do not falter. Walk brave and bold. It's time for the new. Out with the old. Hold your head up. Stand way tall. Assert that you're able for it all. There is only abundance, love, and peace, and all negativity you will release. That's pretty.
That is awesome.
Beautiful. Awesome.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I still
love
say
that.
I wrote it. No, there's various. I've just actually published a book of all this stuff. And that one's not in it, but the rest are. And I feel it's my message for humanity. But I don't know what you think, but I feel I'm just channeling it from my higher self.
Well, you're in a good place. I can tell. Would love for you to keep doing this. Yeah. If you're on Facebook, I would love to connect so I can share those if you're willing. Especially
I'd
with new
share it
ones.
as much as I actually have. I'm Jerry Jones on Facebook, but I have a page. My poetry, I call it Poems by Jones, which is Poems by Jones, Jones.
Okay,
and,
well, we'll have to connect because that's the sort of inspiration that I think people can get in nice bite sizes, but it delivers them directly to an energy that's within themselves, and like you said, it's very much in this process of waking up, because anyone who does not feel that is probably not listening right now. It's not likely someone who's listening right now who does not empathize with every word of that.
That's right. Can I have you time for just one more? Because there's another really beautiful one called Peace.
Okay, yeah.
I dream of and pray for peace on earth. It's time that we witness the birth of peace and love for all mankind, and living life with peace of mind. What is this peace of which I speak? It's cooperation. Just take a peek and see the people who love and care for each other. It's everywhere. But still there are those who choose to fight throughout the day and all the night with fellow humans. They got it wrong. We're all here to get along. So send out love to all around you, whether Christian, Muslim, Hindu, or Jew. We're brothers and sisters, all one race, all of us human and full of grace.
Oh, man. You got a heck of a gift for bringing through awesome stuff.
There's a gentleman, Jerry, who does spiritual videos, and he calls himself the spiritual Dr. Seuss.
Okay.
All right.
I don't know if you've ever seen any videos, but he goes through very, very deep spiritual subjects, but he does it all in poetry, and kind of like Dr. Seuss, and it's so brilliant. It's so brilliant. Yeah. And as you were going, it reminded me of him.
Yeah, yeah. I've got one that I wrote called Challenges, and I can't remember the whole thing now, but it really comes over in that kind of flow, It's a great message.
Yeah.
But I would love share some of this with all our wonderful people that in the One People group and all. I'd love to share. I've posted the odd one here and there. I've got one called Heaven and Earth. I posted that one on Brian's page, I think it was, and he put it on his blog once. But it's ready to be out there. My book is almost like a handbook to give to people that need to wake up. So it's almost like the guidebook to wake us all up. But anyway, I just wanted to share that.
Jerry. It sounds like you found your voice. You found your way to express.
I spent years not speaking. I gave my power away to somebody. I was used, abused, taken for granted, and I awoke. I'm me now again. So I beautiful message. So I just wanted to share that with you.
Well, it comes through. It comes through in your voice and the way you deliver it, and it's beautiful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Well, now I've taken up so much time, I'll leave somebody else with a question. So thank you so much for all you do, and thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for calling.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we have another caller, area code 661. Are you there?
Is this me?
That's you.
Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Mike the mailman from Boston.
Hello, Mike from Boston.
Hello.
How's it going? I just got off work and I'm out here working down by this beautiful little area near my apartment complex with all this water, and it's just awesome. I'm just cleaning it up, trying to make it beautiful, as more beautiful as it can be.
I can hear the water.
Oh, can you? Is it too loud?
Yeah.
Should I go away?
Oh, no. It's very nice.
I was just calling I was just listening just to, I every time I put you guys on, or whether it be the One People show or, Collective Imagination, or Remembering, any of these shows, man, it's just really it's like going to a whole nother level and like living it. It's so awesome. You can't really find it much more other places than this, I did have a question. I guess everything with all the changes and that are bound to come. I was thinking sports competitions. Like, what do you think the sports? Aside from all the monetization of the sporting events and everything, where do you think sports is going to go in the next dimension after this whole awakening finally takes place? I myself am a big sports fan, and I don't try to let it consume my life, but I do like to play sports here and there. And I don't know. I always wondered that nobody really talks about the other stuff, like the fun stuff during life. They always talk about work and politics, but I think the things that bring us joy are things that we should focus in on as well.
So this also brings into play what a couple of people have asked me: what things should we expect to do away with when it comes to 5D awareness and the future and things like this? And actually, anything can stay that you love. So if you like sports and you think other people will continue to like sports, I don't see it going anywhere. It might not be as big a business or an operation as it is now, because maybe some people will just be focused on other things. But, I'm a big hockey lover. And a couple people have been shocked that I would love hockey because it's fairly brutal, like football as well, And I might take out a couple things. I might, not have so much fighting or, maybe a little bit more in the range of not needing so much padding, and just get more down to the skill based, a little bit more like how women play hockey. It's not doesn't involve so much contact, but these things will transform organically. You'll just find that the audience will ask the transformations within them that they feel represent, a more harmonious game in the end. But competition is not meant to go away simply because we're trying to do away with duality. Contrast is still highly prized in the higher dimensions, highly prized. So, as long as it's taken with a bite of realism when it comes to it. And you'll find that, after, playoff games and whatnot, they all shake hands, they all make good with reconciling their differences. And that's really, as long as those elements are grounded into the experience, you should expect virtually all sports to persist.
Good. Well, that's good news.
Yeah.
I think what you're going to find, Mike, is once the business is taken out of the sport, you're going to have people who are engaging in the sport for the love of the sport.
Yeah.
And I think the quality will increase because of that, and
Totally,
it'll transform, right? like Julien said, on its own. As people begin to develop and change, it will begin to develop and change. But I think the motivation of the sport will be definitely different.
Totally, we won't be breeding children for athletic purposes. Kind of feel like how what's going on today. Like these kids from such a young age are just basically drilled over and over just so that maybe one day they'll be one of the top athletes in the world, only for the simple fact to make the money. Most parents push their kids to do sports.
That's true.
Not because they want them to love the sport, but more because they want them to. You see some of these parents fighting at some of these games, Pee-wee hockey games or Pop Warner football games, and you see them going at each other. And really, what are we really doing this for again?
Correct. Well, even careers are going to be something entirely different. Careers in terms of your life path is going to be a whole different story. And, I could talk forever on what kinds of careers might become what, but, just note that without the motivation for survival, it's a completely different story. So games and playing are very much foundational to what people are wishing to actually experience in their everyday life going forward.
Cool. Also, one last thing before I hop off air, it's along those same lines, actually, just as we were talking about it, has anybody ever heard any extraterrestrial information or rhetoric or about ETs actually participating in some sort of sporting type of?
They do? Okay, so I can speak specifically for the Pleiadians and the Syrians, and they do have organized sports, arena-based sports. They do.
So good.
They have
so
some.
awesome.
They have one in particular that's like football with no gravity, or limited gravity.
What?
Yeah.
That's nuts. That is nuts. All right, that's about all I got, guys. I'll continue to support you guys, support the one people, support us. And I'm pushing, doing my best to spread this information. And some people, they have a little bit harder time taking it all in. But I'm printing out foreclosure flyers. I've been handing them out to people, just letting people know. The landscape has changed, and it all starts with the individual. If you want your life to change, you really just put the work in, and it will happen for you. So, and standing in a space of love and not coming from a space of fear. I think those are all great things that regardless of replicators or anti-gravity, which would be great at some point. I think the real thing is to really focus in on okay, who are we all, and what the heck are we all doing here, and what kind of a space are we coming from? And I think it's really important. I think that's really the best thing that I'm at least getting out of all of this. Is really putting aside all the fear porn and not putting your energy towards it, and really just focusing in on making the change, being the change that you want to see in the world, doing and being. So that's where I leave it, and I love you guys, man. And you guys, we're all friends on Facebook, just so you guys know. So we don't need to go there anymore. We already took care of that. So yeah, man, you guys rock. Keep up the good work, and maybe we'll get to chat again sometime.
Yeah, great. Thank you, mailman.
That's right. Yes, sir. Deliverer of information.
Thanks for coming on.
Perfect.
Can I share one more thing that I feel about the replicator scenario? It's a fairly firm belief within me that we're going to see people doing manifesting with their hands before the replicators are in full swing. That's just my feeling, is that the human technology will come before the tool technology.
Actually, I think there's a couple people already doing it.
There are people that are doing it. There are actual. I don't want to point to anybody that I know that's already doing it, but if I can give a discrete thing, is that it demonstrates a degree of mastery with some Tibetan monks and some monks in China to be able to do that.
Interesting times ahead, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
We have another caller, area code 424.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello. Hey, this is Andrea.
Andrea.
Hi, Andrea.
Hi, I'm so happy to be talking to you guys. I just want to tell you guys I love you.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, we love you too.
So I have two questions, and one is I've been trying to catch up on all the Friends in High Places back shows, and I'm only up to the April 20th. I just finished last night listening to the April 20th, so that shows how far behind I am on listening to all those. But on that show, you guys were talking about making a list of stadium events where it would be good for the ETs to make an appearance. And
yeah.
I know that you said that they specifically would rather come out at night because it's safer for them. But I think Memorial Day would be there are all kinds of parades, daytime events for Memorial Day, and I think that would be a lovely thing because Memorial Day is about remembering.
You know, they listen to me. They listen to. It's like they have a camera on me for some kind of weird reality show.
Yeah.
And so everything that I experience is broadcast to them. So my life is available. So even this conversation, they get a piece of it, and what I read as well on the internet and stuff. I've basically allowed myself to be that medium, and it doesn't take much for people to share what they think to me for them to get the message and start playing with it, because they really do have a very high interest in our input. And so, you know, I can hear them already, you know, the gears turning in their head.
Okay, so here, let me share my vision for this, because I know different places in the United States, and you know, I know other countries aren't having Memorial Day like we are, but different places in the United States are safer because they're farther away from like naval air stations, and so it's like less chance of the fighter jets getting to them before they zip away, and they probably shouldn't, you know, reveal the big slow ships. They probably need to use the little fast ones. If they're going to come out in daytime. But I live in Topanga, which is outside of Los Angeles, so I actually live in nature. There are coyotes outside my door every night, and I actually even saw a bobcat. You know, I live in nature. The people who live up here are like Joni Mitchell used to live here, Eric Clapton used to live here. This is a hippie community. Most of the people up here, if they're not woo-woo, they know somebody who is. Everybody up here, like, you know, does psychic readings, does healing work, goes to massage and yoga. I mean, you know, you don't see somebody who doesn't have a yoga mat in their car. You know? So this is cool. We're having a 3-day festival, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and I'm sure a lot of places are, but in Topanga, it's going to be an outdoor festival. It's not a stadium, but it's like a stadium. It's just this big grassy area with a band stage. There's going to be a main stage and then all kinds of, you know, food and drinks and fun things happening. And there's a parade on Monday, and the parade goes up Topanga Canyon Boulevard. We're up at 1,000 feet up from the sea level. And so we're this cute, protected little canyon where they could possibly safely make an appearance above all these kind of more open-minded people and then zip away before anything happens to them.
So is that an official invitation?
That's an official invitation. I am putting that out in the sense this reality of all my friends who live up here in Topanga who I keep talking to them about the ETs and letting them know. My first time I actually ever, I was the one who wrote to you guys saying that the first time I ever tried to contact with the ET, I do healing work for a living. So I actually, when I'm doing sessions, I'm calling in people's guardian angels and their spirit guides and their ancestors. And then I actually call in planetary energies. And then I leave this open invitation, and I call whatever energies need to be here in this time, in this place for this person's highest healing good. And I'm trained by the Southern California Psychic Institute, which is related to the Berkeley Psychic Institute, so I don't let things into my field. I do have a spirit guide that I specifically work with who's trained to plug in through the back of my hands, and she is a spirit guide who has formerly been incarnated as a human, and I also have another spirit guide I work with to do I can remove lost souls. Entities is not a nice word. They're basically, if somebody died too quickly and they didn't make the proper transition and they're in limbo, they actually will just sort of hitch a ride and sit in somebody else's auric field because they don't know where else to go. And I have a spirit guide who I work with that helps them make the dimensional shift to the between lifetimes place. So I work with this on a regular basis. But I never tried to talk to the ETs before. So Cobra mentioned in his solstice meditation to try and talk to the closest ETs, and oh my gosh, they were right there, and it was much easier to connect with them than I thought it would be.
I was stunned at the immediacy of their response.
Yeah. I was like, wow. And actually one of the things that happened was I asked them, I said, okay, is there something that I need to do? Can I, because I've done a lot of Qigong and stuff that actually rewired my energy body so that I can better do energy work, Qigong and Tai Chi and stuff like that. And, actually, and getting a lot of acupuncture and things that actually strengthen and tone your meridians. And I've had a Kundalini opening where I was energy blasted out of my body for 3 weeks. So my meridians are open.
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Did you have a Kundalini opening as part of this Michael Monk training?
No, but he basically has you do it on hand. He has you develop it. It's not all at once, but he basically
you have to be slow
through the concept of meridians. Right. So he does it the slow and steady way, but you can get it done within 2 weeks, really. From having no sensitivity whatsoever, but just putting in the practice.
Wow. Okay, so I have so many questions. Well, here's
so
one. Because you've mentioned specifically that once you connect with ETs, it's going to totally shift your reality, and you won't be able to hold the vibration of illness. And I actually do have illness that I'm dealing with, and I do call in angels and ask, to have the divine white light running through my clients, but I don't do it as much for myself.
So if you're holding illness-based experiences, just take a look at why you may not understand why you have them and try to discover why you might have them. Most of them can be determined on a mental level.
Yeah.
And some of them, especially with sensitivity to energy, can be detected through the use of your hands, right?
Yeah,
feeling the subtle energy if you have that nature.
Yeah, my hands are totally sensitive. I can feel people's cranial rhythm from 8 feet away.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right. And so in this period of transition, the transition will itself potentially bring up challenges that can be seen in your mind and with your physical body. I don't want to freak people out or scare them off. It's kind of the truth that you'll go through a need for you to want to express yourself in a more, expressive way, have more energy flowing, and that'll come across something that is not used to having as much energy flow through it, a particular part of your body that tends to channel certain emotions and whatnot.
Okay.
Oh, so I'm saying the block. Can you still hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hold on. Okay. So the blockages are not necessarily something that might make you ill, but if you try to bring a lot of energy to a space, you can find that the space doesn't have the strength to handle that kind of energy, and so it'll force like a new muscle to start exercising, and that can be a bit painful and can lead to particular illness-related experiences. But and to some degree, people might ask, well, should I, lay off it a bit? Maybe there's too much energy I'm trying to force through a small hole or something. And I would say just pay attention to you wanting to reconcile, the inability for the energy to move as quickly. And so you'll feel out what it'll take for that to move. And you'll find within yourself, at a mental level, at a subtle level, at a physical feeling level, what sorts of things are playing into that that sort of resistance or that feeling of the energy having to go through a small funnel.
When it comes to healing, if you feel any sort of illness in your body, you don't attack it. You don't you don't try to fight the illness. It's more of an understanding and a releasing. Understanding, what it's trying to tell you, understanding what it's there for. Once you receive the communication, because it's a communication. Your body is communicating with you. And once you receive that communication and you understand, and there's no need for the illness anymore, then you naturally just release it. At least that's what works for me. And I try to stay in tune with my body. It will naturally tell you what it wants and what it needs. You may find that your diet changes, your cravings for certain foods will change. Just pay attention to that. Understand, the communication, receive it, and release it.
It's really about reconciling the energy that doesn't know how to flow, because all energy wishes to flow, and if it's not finding a way to be recognized and move forward, well, then it finds a stagnation energy, and stagnation is slower, lower energy and discomfort type energy. Also take note as well, specifically as a healer, that sometimes healers will find themselves in a state of empathy for the illness or whatever they're working on healing, and might actually acquire it themselves. Sometimes they can remove an illness from someone by basically drawing it to themselves instead. So
I used to do that, and that's why I had to go to the Psychic Institute to get training on how to have better energetic boundaries.
Okay.
I'm very empathic. I mean, I had my own neck and back stuff, and I was working in a chiropractor's office, and most everybody came in there with neck and back stuff. But the day that somebody came in and I worked on his knee and I went home and my knee hurt, I was like, okay, this is bad.
Yeah.
So my massage teacher basically sent me to the energy training. Said, you have bad energy boundaries. You need to go here and learn what to do about that. And so I went.
Yeah. So, you'll find people born at different times of the year have different natural inherent approaches to how they handle energy. So some may be easier coming to the natural foundations of healing and developing those boundaries, and some will find that it is a challenge to begin to try to be a healer or to try to discover what that is for themselves. So I don't want to say, it's the same story for everyone. Everyone has their own things, but I believe there's material been written on people born on the different signs of the zodiac with regards to what types of challenges they have. I might see if I can find that somewhere on the internet and see if I can come back to that information. But it can explain some of the typical challenges. Because I have had all
these different kinds of energetic, psychic, there's been a lot more other weird stuff I've done too. I've actually trained where we were practicing moving clouds around and practicing telekinesis and practicing feeling, guessing, okay, what's in this bag just by feeling the energy. Is it rice? Is it frankincense? Is it, just all different kinds of energy games, training our energetic sensitivity and our psychic sensitivity. And so I'm kind of wanting to hear more from you about what Michael Monk's training is, because I'm like, okay, one more training. I really want to be able to talk to the ETs like you do, so maybe I want to do one more training.
Well, I'm gonna state right off the bat that he is not an aficionado on ETs. He really does not find a lot of value with direct communication with them. So he doesn't have any lessons specific to speaking to them. He does have material that gets you to speak with non-physical and with entities within other realms, but specific to ETs, he lets them be who they are. They don't dial into him very often. That's not his nature. It's more on the line of Peter Shelton. He has greater communication type of a nature with that. The only reason why I came into the whole ET thing, I was not particularly biased about ETs or anything in particular until I just thought that I could help. I thought that I could help share information, and then they decided that I could be useful. And so I basically new to it since this year. So,
and I have friends, I have a friend who has a Pleiadian friend he talks to, so I'm going to have him come and listen to your show and join the crowd,
Yeah, the Pleiadians are very, very chatty. They're very, very quick to respond. Typically the first ones that people might find, Syrians probably being the second most likely. Anyhow.
So here's one more question, and I'll get off and let other people have a turn. If we were going to invite somebody into our living room for a physical meet and greet, which race of ETs would we be the least actually freaked out about, and if they do show up here, can they drink the water, and what kind of fruit should we offer them? I mean, when somebody comes into my house, I offer something to a guest. Who's the most compatible, and what can we offer them to welcome them and have a little chat over a cup of tea?
No, in my head now, it's just exploded and saying me, 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 me. So there's lots of them that are they'll change their appearance if that's what it takes to feel more welcome.
Well, I heard that in Nelia Ben's program where she said she wanted to meet them, and then when she saw them, the elemental of the physical body freaked out.
Yeah, see, some of them are not so willing to not be authentic to their nature, but a lot of them just so want to hang out with us. They'll do crazy stuff, like change their appearance and stuff. So you'll find that whatever you're willing for, there's going to be somebody that is right in alignment with that very specific interest that you have. There's so many of them. It's like, don't even, make yourself ready specific to them. Just, be yourself. If you want to offer, tea and crumpets or, hostess cakes or something like that, it doesn't matter. They'll be just the right people for that experience.
They are understand also, Andrea. They are very much so aware of energy, and they're very much attuned to how you respond. So they may start off tentatively at first with maybe a light show to see what your response is, and they're not going to do anything that is outside of what you're comfortable with. So whatever you're comfortable with, they'll accommodate what you're ready for.
However, I'm going to give you a quick disclaimer. There is a threshold that they're not willing to cross that needs to occur first. And I know that's just, it makes people sad when they probably hear that. But there's a point at which, after a certain point has been reached, the kinds of in-house visits
will be exploding. It'll be all over the place. People will get this. We'll get their personal visits. So, you know, sign up and, you know, put that intention out there and know that you can be put on, you know, the list for whoever's willing to come visit. And it's actually quite desired because that is their preferred method of integration, at least for the Syrians it is.
Cool.
You know, they've heard you through me and through this experience right now, so you don't have to do much more, but you can share that with others. And yeah, for now, the threshold is okay with regards to sightings. As you know,
well, tell them all I said hi, I love you.
Oh, they're quite pleased that you share that, and they're waving and jumping and. Yeah, I'm with my daughter. If you guys haven't heard. She's keeping her head to the sky too. She knows.
Cool.
So wonderful.
All right. Love you guys. Thank you so much. I'll get off the phone and listen to the rest over the blog talk, and I'm hanging out in chat.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for calling.
And sharing. Yes.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. We have area code 914.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for taking my call.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. I hope that you can answer my question. I'm not sure if you are taking questions regarding the courtesy notice, but I'm kind of in the first steps of talking to the bank. I've been...
Can I have your name? What?
Yeah, sure. It's Patricia.
Patricia.
And, yeah, I've been in the process, and I really think, like, our angels have protected us because we've been in a loan modification, and I know that a lot of people have their homes already foreclosed on and all this stuff, but I really have always felt that we were being protected. Like, that's why, you know, like I always had faith that, you know, things were going to work out. But now that we're at the, you know, I was like, couldn't believe when I saw the courtesy notice, and I was like, wow, you know, here's, you know, what I was holding out for. Like, I knew it was something. And then on Friday, I called the bank, and of course they had no idea what I was talking about when I was trying to say about the UCC filings, and I felt myself like kind of fumbling over my words. And then once,
right.
You know, and he really didn't, you know, like he was like, oh, they filed something against you, or you know, like he really had no clue what I was talking about, and I was like. So then I was like, wow, now I kind of like already started this, you know, can I really back this up? Because, you know, I mean, regarding the courtesy notice, I mean, it's a lot of, you know, I don't know if somebody were to question me, like, you know, face to face, if I would be able to, with my own words, you know, back it up as such, you know, especially if you're, you know, being kind of intimidated, you know, like if somebody's kind of like intimidating you. So I'm just wondering what your advice is, like with the first steps, because like I truly believe, you know, that all that's happened and stuff regarding the UCC filings, but just like you know, I don't know if I should just you know, because I figured because that, you know, they have sometimes they say that, you know, you could even ask for the note on the house and all that stuff. I figured the UCC filings overrides all of that. I mean, it doesn't matter if they have the note or not. The UCC filings pretty much overrides that.
It does override it. And so what the courtesy notice, remember what it's really doing is letting them know that they're acting on their own recognizance, that there is no formal structure behind them. They're acting from a point where they believe that they're grounded in their beliefs and their actions, right? Mm-hmm. They believe that they have the rights and authority and whatnot to do what they're doing. This is what they've always known. This is the structure as they've seen it, as they've, you know, been born and raised into it. They know nothing else. And so it takes a little bit of patience to get through to them sometimes and be able to at least speak from where you are with regards to exactly what is going on. In your own words will actually be the most effective way to do it, believe it or not. Okay. You can share a courtesy notice. You can start with a courtesy notice. And if you feel that the conversation is going well in the direction of them listening, then you don't need to, you know, do things like bill them for your time.
it'll benefit both of you. Because, from the point of view, you don't want to have an altercation with them. You just want the circumstance to be resolved in the way that everyone understands their personal liability and responsibility for every word and action and deed that they take. And, people take those sorts of approaches to, living and expressing and functioning within their life very seriously. They all want to be grounded on the foundation of something that they can believe in, and to hear that may not be the case can take a little bit of patience in delivering that message home. So, one-to-ones, maybe having a meeting with someone at the bank who's willing to meet with you, if you can get in charge of someone at the higher point within the bank, the manager or the branch manager perhaps, see if you can get a meeting with them. Maybe not even discuss your particular case, but just work from where you are. Even though, you say you're stumbling and whatnot, it also reflects the reality of you are doing something that, you know that you're not comfortable doing. You're not like some kind of, person that goes up and makes presentations. Know that you're, a normal person.
Patricia, where are you located?
I'm in New York. I'm in Yonkers. But, like right now I'm like, should I try to contact a lawyer? I'm just so, I'm not really sure what to do. Because, I figured, even I was, overwhelmed with all the courtesy notices. There's, all these, files. And I'm just, and my husband is basically getting, he's not really following everything. And he's kind of getting the information from me. And I'm like, we just have to have faith, and, I'm sure this is going to work out and stuff like that. But, obviously, I just want to be able to breathe and know that we're secure in our home and move on, because, I really want to find what I'm truly happy doing, and that's something that I've been still trying to work out. And I just want to
let me explain to you this way,
shoulders.
Patricia. Let me explain to you this way. First, the first thing that you're going to really need to do is become very familiar with actually what's happened, because it's internationally recognized. And the person who you were talking to, if he had no clue about what you're talking, which is, and I have no reason to believe that he was lying, you're probably dealing with someone that is probably not very far in the whole chain of command. Right. You want to move up, because someone in the bank absolutely knows, for sure. Someone in the bank.
But if I start off sending an email of the courtesy notice, do you think that would be okay?
You can send it via email, and there's actually a website that you can go to that can facilitate that, called the Absolute Data Exchange. But what I would suggest for you to do, Patricia, is if you go to the IUV.com website, under the OPPT tools, you'll see a courtesy notice, and there'll be guidelines. And there's about an hour instructional video that talks all about the courtesy notice that you can listen to. All right, and it explains exactly what to expect and how to go about approaching it. And I'm going to give you you can email me, and I can because when you're dealing with the courtesy notice, we're not going to be able to do this we've only got 7 minutes left on the show. So if you want to email me at bobright@5dmedianetwork.com.
Okay, at 5D Media Network, okay.
And we can go over some of the details, and I can try and point you in the right direction.
Okay, that would be great. Yeah, thank you. I just, because it's I don't really have anybody to talk to about it, so it's just it's I wish that there was more of somebody that I could.
Well, that's what we can do. We can maybe, and if there's anyone in your area, so if anybody's in the Yonkers area that is willing to help Patricia, that can maybe connect with her. If you're willing to share your contact details, Patricia, an email address, or Facebook, maybe somebody can get in touch with you that way.
Okay. All right. So then I'll email you. We'll email you, and it's Bob Wright with the W, right? Yeah.
Yes.
W. Okay. Great. All right. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
No problem.
Okay,
You
have
probably
a good
have.
night.
You too.
You too.
Thanks.
We probably have time for one more.
Okay, we can do one more.
Unless you have something that you need to go through before the show.
No, we might run a couple minutes over just for those who are listening live. Those who have called in will be able to continue to listen past the top of the hour, and the recording should have everything that we have after that. But those who are listening through the web probably be cut off. In fact, pretty sure they will be. So just go back and check the archive.
We have area code 561.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Hello. Hi, Bob. Hi, Julien. This is Patty from Florida.
Hello, Patty from Florida.
Thank you. Thank you so much for taking my call. Bob, I've been listening to you and the folks on Mondays and Tuesdays for months and months, and Julien for about as long as you've been on and getting the updates. And thank you so much for all that the both of you do. I love you both. I love all of you guys. And thanks for taking my call. So this is my first time that I've called. So so I'm in Florida. I own a little coffee shop cafe called Mother Earth, and it's a very, very special place energetically. There are a lot of people who are attracted to it. It has a very interesting energy, probably for a lot of different reasons. And I try to nurture that energy. I have put in you guys were talking about putting in our consciousness, being visited and so forth. And I had a brief opportunity to kind of communicate through someone with the Andromedans back last year. And what I was, because I've also been in touch with Tolek, and I had sent him from the Andromeda Council and kind of sent him an email saying, hey, I've got this really cool place here in Florida, and when the ambassadors show up, there'll be a lot of folks who would love to meet them. And I got an email back from him, so I'm kind of in the queue for them coming through, which is really awesome. But I had this friend who kind of has some experience with, communicating with ETs, and he was in the shop one day, and I put the question to the. I wanted to tell him. I wanted to contact the Andromedans, and basically. And they kind of came and he said, okay, they're here. And he said it was really interesting because they had to clear the energy. And they had to kind of clear the energy before they came in. And, and I was able to ask them questions. And I was basically my whole thing was I wanted to support. It's a very earthy place, my place. And I support earth consciousness, but I wanted to tell them that I wanted my place to be kind of like a bridge for both earth consciousness and galactic consciousness, so that there could be those kinds of gatherings. And they were really supportive of it. So I guess my request kind of went up wherever it goes, and I've been getting more and more excited because I think we're getting closer from everything that I've heard. So I did have the experience one day. I have to tell you, I did have the experience one day where I thought that I met one. A gentleman who came into the shop, and I just have to tell you, as soon as he walked in, my heart started to get really tickled and gleeful, and I had no idea why, and I felt a little crazy, but I just was so happy to see him. And he was just kind of this ordinary-looking guy. He walked a little funny, and he seemed a little awkward in the way that he was speaking to me and ordering his cappuccino. But when he stepped out the door, and we had a lovely talk, and he talked to me like he knew me.
Patty, I'm going to stop you for 1 second. We're about to go off the air for those who are listening. I want you to let you know we've got about 20 seconds left. Tune in next week at 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 2 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And so Monday we'll be back on the One People Radio, and on Tuesday night for the Collective Imagination. Okay, Patty, you can continue.
Oh, my God, I have been a motor mouth. Sorry. But anyway, no, he just And what gave it away was when he stepped out and I looked through the window, he chugged his entire cappuccino on the front patio. And I was like, no human does that. You know, but then he was gone. I never saw him again. But it was one of the most lovely I've had a lot of them at the coffee shop, but nothing like that. And so I told people since then, I think I met one. Met one, you know. So, but at any rate, it's an interesting place. It's been an interesting journey, and I am so happy to spend Monday and Tuesday evenings listening to you guys, having you come into my living room pretty much, and now a little bit on Saturday afternoons. So, but
what is the name of your shop again, and does it have a website?
Yeah, it does. It's Mother Earth Cafe.
Mhm.
And you can Google it. It goes by Mother Earth Cafe or Mother Earth Coffee and Gifts, and it is a website. I do have a website there, and I'm on Facebook.
Okay.
And,
I'm thinking if some appointments want to be made from our friends, they'll want a place to get the updates with regards to what's going on at your locale.
Yeah. So what do you mean, like?
If you get
like to set up something special on my website for that?
No, I'm saying if there's going to be some kind of meet and greet scenario, people will want a place where they can find out if that's on the horizon. Right.
They can definitely do that. I also have a Mother Earth. Mother Earth is also on Facebook, and I don't know if that would be an easier vehicle for people, you know, to connect. You know, because there are just so many people. I mean, for the moment, so many people on Facebook.
Right.
And I'll definitely be keeping people updated on the Facebook page.
Yeah, if not, at least keep us updated.
Absolutely. You know, I'm looking forward to it. I know that there's some, I guess, events that have to happen first, but, you know, and then it all happens pretty quickly.
I almost want to say they don't have to happen, but they're trying to keep everyone in a certain degree of consensus in terms of the different groups to try to stick to certain plans because, you know, they have a consensus idea of certain things working out. So this threshold that we're looking at is really, you know, will come after a point at which sightings should be, well underway, being, like blitzed everywhere.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that'll be.
So that will still be the precursor, at least from what I'm being told. And I wish I could say more, but they've actually done this thing where they are not giving me any more data on that, and they're keeping me distracted from going down the rabbit hole and trying to find out what their plans are.
You mean for the visitations?
For the visitations, for what is actually the next step with regards to them and what they're going to do, because they know that I've shared what I've found out, because I can come across their data fairly easily when it's a consensus group discussion. It's like a big meeting going on, and I can easily come across it. But they're doing their best.
You're going to eavesdrop on their meetings.
They're trying to keep me under wraps, I feel. So,
you've kind of got your glass to the wall, basically.
Yeah, like, what is going on, guys? Yeah. So some stuff I seem to get answers right away, and other things it's not so quick. It's not so easy.
Yeah. Well,
anyhow,
it's all real fascinating to listen to your updates, Julien. Much appreciated over here, and it's all really really exciting, and I'm going with the flow myself, and
that's the way to do it. Yeah. Wonderful.
So really, really appreciate you guys, and thank you so much for taking my call, and I'll call in on one of the other shows too to keep in touch. Keep you guys posted.
Yeah.
Well,
thanks for calling, Patty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, I think that's it for the show.
Okay. I think we were able to disseminate some good information. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was great time. Please join us next week for those of you who are listening still on the call line, and
the recording.
go to make comments. If there's something that you want to hear or some subject that you want us to go into for next week, we'll certainly take everything into consideration.
I'd like, if anyone wants to actually have questions answered on the air, you can post questions underneath the show in the 5D Media or Blog Talk area. I believe you can leave comments and whatnot. If you leave comments in there with questions, definitely get to them for sure.
Yes.
Put those at the top of the list of things to do.
Definitely. And we'll see everyone next week. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.